Do you remember Eugene? Before the Whisperers were eradicated, Ezekiel and Yumiko accompanied Eugene on a journey to meet his online girlfriend in person. They also hoped to make new allies along the way. However, their trip didn't go as smoothly as they had imagined. On their first night out, Ezekiel's horse suddenly collapsed on the ground. He kept calming the horse, and after checking it over, he realized that it had a zombie bite mark on its arse. Ezekiel had no choice but to give his good mate a lift himself. Although animals don't turn into zombies, the virus continued to torment them. The next day, they continued their journey on 2 remaining horses and reached a new city by noon. To make it to Eugene's girlfriend's rendezvous point within 5 days, they had to pass through the city quickly. As they approached the city center, it appeared no different from the other places they had encountered, empty and bearing the marks of time. But as they wandered through the streets, they stumbled upon a bizarre sight in an alleyway. Everything was decked out in vibrant colors, and even the zombies were participating in role-playing. They couldn't help but wonder who would engage in such a frivolous activity. However, it hinted at the presence of people living in the area. In the next, they had been careful. Yet, after a while, the situation ahead made Ezekiel burst into laughter. Whoever had orchestrated this was undoubtedly a genius. Suddenly,
Stop! Stop! Oh my God, hi!
a woman with an exaggerated appearance and an excessively enthusiastic demeanor caught their attention. She seemed a bit eccentric and unhinged. From the moment they met her, she talked incessantly. However, according to her, she hadn't seen living people in a long time, and their sudden appearance excited her greatly. She introduced herself as Princess. The 3 of them were at a loss for words, as they needed to continue their journey and didn't want to engage with this seemingly deranged woman. But Princess, upon hearing about their plans, became even more enthusiastic and offered to help them find the quickest route through the city. Then a couple of zombies came down the alley and Princess saw her chance to make a statement. Gunshots echoed, spooking their remaining 2 horses, which bolted away. This was a serious problem. They still had 3 days of travel ahead, and walking might not get them to the meeting point in time.
Sorry about that.
Realizing she had caused trouble, Princess decided to make amends. Princess volunteered that she knew where there was transport and could lead them to it. That's how a woman was added to their group. In the next few hours they'll find out just how unreliable this princess really is. In her eagerness to take a shortcut, Princess secretly led them into a minefield, claiming it would save them time. What infuriated them even more was that Princess had no idea where the landmines were located. When they were risking their lives to cross, Yumiko couldn't take it anymore. She saw Princess as nothing more than a reckless individual who treated life like a game. The most frustrating part was that Eugene noticed they had been here before when he saw a marker on his path. This meant they had been going in circles, wasting an entire day. Furious, Yumiko grabbed her bow and arrow and was about to kill the woman. Princess apologizes. She was just trying to show herself through the minefield so they'd think she's good, so they'd befriend her, but she didn't expect to mess it up and delay everyone's business. In the end, Eugene chose to forgive Princess. He had once been a lonely person on the verge of losing all his friends. Eventually, Princess led them to a garage, but when they saw what was inside, they were dumbfounded. They had expected to find cars or something similar, but instead, they discovered bicycles. However, Eugene was willing to accept this mode of transportation, as bicycles would be 3 times faster than walking. They set off on bicycles and, on the 5th evening, finally reached their rendezvous point. It was a train station, but there was no sign of anyone around. Eugene had changed into a handsome outfit, eagerly anticipating meeting his Juanita. After waiting for about half an hour, his hope began to fade as no one had shown up yet. Yumiko had intended to console Eugene, but he adjusted his mood and said, "We can't just go back like this. There must be someone nearby." And maybe Juanita hasn't arrived yet. We have to find them, not only for me but also to find allies to help our community. Eugene had just finished speaking when the lights above them suddenly turned on. A group of people wearing strange clothing rushed towards them, armed with weapons. They had no choice but to drop their knives. It wouldn't be wise to provoke them. When they dropped their weapons, the men started to come up and take them away one by one. Princess, unwilling to surrender, tried to grab a weapon, but a soldier immobilized her from behind and ordered her to lie on the ground. On the other side, Yumiko attempted to break free and help but was met with a fist. In the end, they were all separately thrown into shipping containers. Outside, Eugene's voice could be heard as he attempted to reason with the individuals who had captured them, but there's no doubt about it. They're caged birds now. Soon, daylight broke, and Princess peered through the crack in the door, noticing that there were always guards patrolling outside. Escaping seemed nearly impossible. At that moment, she saw a large gap in the carriage, and she wanted to see if she could enlarge it, but it was obviously a fool's errand. Not only did it not work, but it also cut her hand. From the neighboring container, Princess heard Yumiko's feeble voice. It was clear that she had been injured the previous night. Yumiko told Princess not to do anything rash and to follow these people's orders. Maybe it's a review process. As Yumiko spoke, she suddenly collapsed, and no amount of shouting from Princess could elicit a response. Shortly afterward, the door was opened, and the guards took Yumiko away. Princess was anxious, uncertain whether these people intended to rescue or relocate Yumiko. However, her inquiries were met with a single statement.
Hey! Answer me!
Shut up!
After a while, Princess noticed a wooden board on the other side of the container, likely used for repairs. With all her strength, she managed to pry it loose, revealing a large hole through which she could escape. Princess had just crawled out when she realized Eugene was in the adjacent container. Eugene warned her not to take any reckless actions, as guards were patrolling, and their captors hadn't killed anyone yet. By following their instructions, they may soon regain their freedom, but Princess didn't want to believe them. She was about to help Eugene out. At that moment, the sound of the patrol came from the distance. Quickly, Princess concealed herself on the opposite side of the container, avoiding detection. After they left, Eugene once again strongly urged Princess to go back to the carriage and not to mess up the operation. Perhaps their community was still waiting for them to bring back allies, and they needed to show sincerity. After hearing his plea, Princess began to show some restraint and obediently returned to her container through the hole. As soon as she came back, the door was opened and the soldiers came in to take Princess to be examined. Soon Princess was taken to a bathroom and asked to take a bath. This was to check for zombie bite marks. Once the soldiers confirmed that Princess had no wounds, a man who appeared to be in charge approached. He primarily asked for Princess's name, origin, and her assessment of her companions, among other questions. However, Princess displayed resistance, barely answering the questions, and persistently inquiring about Yumiko's whereabouts. The man lost patience and had a strong dislike for her lack of courtesy. He didn't want to waste any more time and ordered the soldiers to take Princess away. When the Princess woke up again, she was back in the container. Shortly afterward, she crawled out through the hole, intending to speak with Eugene, but it was empty and Eugene had been taken away. Princess was in a hurry. She had to find a way to save them. There was a voice overhead. "It's Ezekiel. He's escaped and found her." Just as they were conversing, they heard footsteps approaching from outside.
Hey, look. I'm sorry about before.
Ezekiel closed the door, disarmed a soldier, and handcuffed him. Ezekiel wanted to use the soldier as a hostage for his friends who were taken away. The soldier explained that their friends were likely with a doctor and reassured them that no harm would come to them. But Ezekiel doesn't believe him and punches and kicks the soldier, choking him. Princess turns her head and realizes that she's the one who did it, and the soldier is looking at her in horror. Princess then realized that Ezekiel wasn't actually present. All of this was her own imagination. In reality, Princess had a troubled past, which occasionally led her to experience hallucinations, making her feel compelled to carry out certain actions. Finally, she regained her composure and apologized to the soldier, returning all the items she had taken. She hoped that the soldier would keep this incident secret and help her find out where Yumiko and the others were located. She promised full cooperation in answering their questions. The soldier nodded in agreement to Princess's request. Princess then said sincerely, "I've only known them for a few days, but we're friends now. I don't know where they come from, but I just helped them to come here." Then Princess said a lot of information about herself and how she got here.
So when can I see my friends?
right now.
Wait!